Hello again guys, it's Carly from the Poetry of Nice, and the video I have to share with you today is the top 10 brands that I am going to be looking for in 2019. So first things first, if you are new to my channel, welcome. It is so nice to have you here. This is a channel all about reselling online essentially. So I sell on 3 platforms at the moment, that is eBay, Poshmark and Etsy. And I do this part-time, sort of a couple of hours a day, 1 or 2 hours, while being a stay-at-home mother to 3 little boys, and I do it for a couple of different reasons. For one reason, to contribute financially, another reason being I really like it, and the next reason being that we are in the process of paying off our debt. We're almost there. Becoming debt-free other than the mortgage. We are so close. 2019 is going to be our year, and I know I've mentioned that before in videos, but if you're new, that's something I always like to share, because reselling online from home while parenting or doing whatever it is that you need to do, caring, whatever it is totally possible. So if that sounds like something that you might be interested, please do go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below and click the bell so you can see when some new videos come up, because I share everything from what I buy to sell, what they actually sell for, all these items that I buy, how long they take, the profit that I make, and then some stuff in between of just kind of like how do I go about buying and photographing and listing and shipping and all the kind of stuff in between. So if that sounds like something you would like to learn a little bit more about or be interested in, I would love to have you stick around and watch some more. Okay, so 2019 is just around the corner. As I film this, it is the 30th of December 2018, which means it's literally a day or 2 away. And naturally, that's got me thinking about what all is my business going to look like in the upcoming year. And part of that is, how am I going to be sourcing? What am I going to be sourcing? And what platform am I going to be working on mainly? So I just took a bunch of time off for Christmas, as many people do. I took a break from social media, I took a break from listing, I kept my stores open and I shipped what sold, but I really wasn't active in any of my stores, and honestly, my sales show it right now. So I'm definitely on the hunt to buy some items that are going to be a quick pick-me-up for my store. Having said that, I have 10 brands to share with you today that are absolutely going to be on my radar, that I'm going to be hunting for this upcoming year. They range from things that I have sold multiple times and are always fast, consistent sellers with good profit margins for me, all the way over to items that, like, brands I just have never found before, that I really want to try and find this year. We shall see if my time has come. And if you hang out all the way to the end of the video, I'm going to be sharing a couple of like bonus categories with you of things that have always sold so well for me online, and that I will absolutely be picking up throughout the year as I source at thrift stores, rummage sales, yard sales, and all those different places that I like to pick up my items. Okay, so brand number 1, that is Patagonia. So this comes like a little asterisk where I'm going to tell you, Patagonia wise, I'm going to be searching for jackets mainly. I actually do a little bit better with menswear than I do with women's, and obviously larger sizes seem to move a little faster, as is pretty typical in most brands. I'm also going to be looking very much for like anything that is quilted or down-filled, whether that be a vest or a long sleeve jacket. Now, I won't turn down pretty much anything I find as long as it's low cost, but as I said, those jackets, women's or men's, but hopefully men's, are really what I'm going to be hunting for this year, and that I would essentially pay up for if I did find one, simply because I've had such good luck selling them, and for really good profit margins when I buy them for sort of $6-7 and below. I will be thinking twice about like the cinchilla pullovers, the quarter zips, and possibly like some of the more kind of summer wear, whether that be like strappy tops or sundresses and things like that. Those things just don't seem to move too fast for me, especially on Poshmark, oddly enough. They do a little bit on eBay for me, in my experience, but they do seem to take a longer time, and their sales price for me is usually around the $18 mark, which, depending on how much I'm paying for an item, does give me kind of pause to assess whether or not that's something I want to pick up, even if it is Patagonia brand. Brand number 2 is Birkenstock. So I will pick up pretty much anything Birkenstock, no matter how beaten up they are. Now, it depends on how much it costs, of course. I'm saying that like $1 or $2 and below. I will pay more for Birkenstock if they are in really good shape. Actually, up to $15 is what I've paid for a new with tags, but with flaws pair before. I mentioned that in my fastest flips video. If you haven't seen that yet, I'm going to link that down below. That would be a good thing for anybody who's wondering what Birkenstock might sell for and how quickly, to go ahead and check out, because I do talk on there about a pair that I paid $14.99 at the thrift store for, I listed, and by the time I went to cross post it, it pretty much had sold within a half an hour mark. So I will be looking for that kind of stuff. Now Birkenstock has a few different brands like under its umbrella, and there's Betula is one, which is kind of like a more sort of feminine type brand if I'm not mistaken, line as well, Betula, and then there's Papilio as well, and they all fall under the Birkenstock like family as it were, and you will see, you'll be able to tell them, like they have all the kind of markings of Birkenstock, and usually they will say Birkenstock on them somewhere as well, I believe. But once you've seen them once or twice, like the style and stuff, especially the slip-ons, you'll know one from far away. A good point as well, if you are wondering if something is Birkenstock or not, usually they will have European sizes only, which will be like 38, 40, 42, and that's usually a good indicator that you should stop and take a closer look at that shoe. Okay, brand number 3 is White House Black Market. Now, before you say anything, I'm talking about the new label. I will see if I can insert a picture of what the new label looks like here for you, so you can see what I'm talking about. But I've had so much luck in the last year whenever I found it, which hasn't been too frequently, but whenever I have and I've listed it, it's sold really, really quickly for me. Obviously, you're going to want to pay attention to style and fabric content and all the other things that you would usually look at when you're deciding to pick up a piece of clothing to resell online, but that particular label has just moved really quickly for me. So White House Black Market, who would have thought it? Brand number 4 is Johnny Was. I know that you didn't see that coming, right? I'm kidding, of course. Johnny Was. Everybody who has heard of that brand, who knows a little bit about it, will know that that's something that you pretty much scoop up no matter what. I've only found it twice. I found one piece that was a vintage piece. It was pretty beaten up and it did take a while to sell. It was just a t-shirt with like a sun logo on it. I believe it sold on Etsy eventually. Like I said, it had a lot of wear to it and it took a long time to sell, and I think it only sold for like $15. So the older pieces I probably would like pause with. However, I've also found a newer piece. It was one of the umbrella brands under Johnny Was. It was 3J Workshop, and I will mention the other brands as well when I get to the end of talking about this, but it was a plaid button-down shirt with floral embroidery. When it comes to Johnny Was, the more embroidery and embellishment and stuff on it, the better. And I bought it for $5 at a thrift store. I listed it in the morning, and by lunchtime it had sold for full asking price of $80 on eBay. But it does do well on eBay and Poshmark in my experience, so heck yeah, it's a Johnny Was. Now let me go ahead and tell you about those other 3 brands. So I mentioned to you that there was the 3J Workshop, which is what I had found. There's also one called For Love and Liberty that is also under the same Johnny Was umbrella. There's Pete and Greta, which again, if you go to the website, you can go ahead and look at all of these brands and you can see what all is associated with Johnny Was. So Pete and Greta is another one to keep an eye out for. And then there's JWLA, which is Johnny Was Los Angeles. And then you can just find just Johnny Was as well. So those are kind of like 5 things to look for and know that they all sort of fall underneath the Johnny Was title, as it were. And yeah, keep your eyes peeled. I mean, these pieces seem to move really quickly and they are beautiful as well, and who doesn't like to sell something that is really, really stunning? Okay, brand number 5 is Lululemon. I know, again, you're probably thinking, I know this already, but I personally am going to be looking for the pants this year. I have started to stay away from sports bras and tanks only because the market is pretty darn saturated at this point. Those things move really slowly for me now, and they move for not very much turnover at all. I would say like $20 tops is what I would expect to get for one of those kind of items. Now, if I'm finding it for like 50 cents or $1 at a filler bag, of course I'm going to go ahead and grab it, especially if it's a large size. But when it comes to the pants, especially, I'm talking like the skinny leggings, I'm not talking about the wide legs. The wide legs I probably would think twice about as well, but the leggings, especially the full length leggings with some kind of print, whether it be a louder colourful print or something as simple as like a black and grey herringbone, something like that, I will absolutely be picking up. I last sold a couple of leggings that I picked up for $15 a piece. I did not mind spending that much whatsoever because the first pair sold within a couple of days of listing for $65 on Poshmark, and the next pair followed shortly after, a week or 2 after, for around $45. So that is pretty much enough of a turnover for me to say that it is worth it, because again, Lululemon is something that's going to drive plenty of traffic to your Poshmark closet and potentially to your eBay store as well as it being something that is very shareable in Poshmark parties, because it's featured in, I think, a couple of, it's at least in the sports one, and it may be featured in another one as well, I'm not too sure. But again, totally worth picking up if you can find it at the right price and it's on style, on trend, all that good stuff. A little tip when it comes to Lululemon as well is if you are struggling to find out what kind of style you have there, whether it be the Wunder Under or, you know, any of these other ones that are out there, you can go to a website called lulufanatics.com, and they have every single style listed with an image to try and help you decipher what you have in hand. However, I will say I have found that pretty darn difficult to still narrow down. So I have often gone to some of my peers on Facebook groups like Poshmark seller groups and things like that, and you can post a picture and some of the up close details, and a lot of the people there will already know exactly what you have because they are just more versed, shall we say, in Lululemon than I would be, because I don't find it that often. And a lot of people there are very willing to help, especially if you're an active part of the group and you're helping others also. So just a little tip. Okay, brand number 6 is, brand number 6, Matilda Jane. But again, asterisk, it's going to be the adult clothing that I'm looking for. So I do sell the kids clothing when I find it. I do find that whenever I come across a yard sales and things like that, the parents want a lot of money for it because it's expensive to buy new, and that kind of kids clothing, the parents just seem to know, like, you know, what it's worth, and I get it, whatever. But the adult clothing I do find from time to time, especially at rummage sales and things, and for me that has moved so much faster than the kids clothing. A lot of adults, like a lot of women, will like to try and like match with their little girl and stuff like that, and it can be really hard to find those pieces, you know, when a line or a season has ended. And overall the clothes are really nice quality and like a really nice, almost Bowden-like style. Like it's got that kind of like slightly boho kind of crunchy look to it, I suppose you could also say. But anyway, super fun to photograph, it's super fun to list in my opinion, and it has moved really quickly for me in the adult sizes. So Matilda Jane adult is what I'm going to be looking for as well. Okay, number 7, got it. Number 7 is Frye. That's spelled F-R-Y-E. So I have sold a pair of boots that I picked up for $20 at a yard sale. They were tall riding style boots. They did take a while to sell, but they sold for over $100 when they did sell. I think it was like $125 on Poshmark that they sold for. And then I also found a pair of some like leather flats, slip-on flats at the bins once. Probably cost me about $1 to buy, and those sold ultimately for about $45 on Poshmark as well for me. They probably took a month or two, but they did sell. One thing I will say about Frye is it increased a lot of activity to my Poshmark closet. I was getting likes every single day on those items. I was getting questions about them. I was getting so many shares, and I really felt like it was beneficial. I always kind of kept them towards the top of my closet, so it was one of the first things that people would see when they would come and share some of my items, and I feel like it really benefited me in terms of activity level. Not to mention, again, it's a product that I really like. It's sort of higher end, so it's like really nice quality. I feel like you can kind of stand behind your product when it comes to selling something like that. And so again, if the price is right, pretty much like $20 and under, depending on what kind of style you have there. Obviously boots I would pay more for, flats not so much. I would definitely pick up Frye. And they also make like handbags and things like that as well, just leather goods in general. So I'll be keeping my eyes open, and I'm going to try and insert the logo up here somewhere if I can, wherever it's going to turn up, and hopefully that is going to help you if you're looking as well, because it's not always easy to see like the brand name with them, but when you see the stamped logo you're going to know what you found. Okay, brand number 8. Why is that so hard? Oh my gosh. Brand number 8 is Kate Spade. So this is on my list mostly because I've never found it in the wild. In fact, no, I tell a lie, I found it once. I found a diaper bag, and my goodness, that thing looked like it had been dragged through a hedge backwards. I don't know what they did with it, but there was just no way I could pick it up. They wanted $15 for it, which, you know, is fair enough for something in really nice shape, but it was just, its life was over as far as I could tell. Looking at it as a resale piece, but I've never found clothing or shoes or anything like that, and I would love to find a piece that is affordable that I could go ahead and flip. Again, it's a great name to have in my store, as well as I just really like the brand as well, and we all have those things. I could also mention, like, really cheeky on the side, because I know I said 10, but I'm going to say it anyway, like Tory Burch. The only time I've ever found Tory Burch shoes, they wanted like $50 for them. And teaks, I've never found teaks. boutiques either, and these are things that are so often on the like bucket list of resellers I know, but I'm going to go ahead and go with Kate Spade as the one that I'm really going to be keeping my eyes peeled for this year. Okay, number 9 is Calvin Klein, and honestly with this I'm going to be looking for like plus size pieces. Well, I say plus size, I'm actually going to go ahead and say like size 12 and up, 10 to 12 and up, which obviously is not plus size. But those slightly larger sizes, especially in career wear, they just fly off the shelf for me. I don't know what it is, but they go really, really quickly. As well as like sweaters, like nice winter pieces and stuff. I've just had such good luck selling Calvin Klein recently when it's like a very substantial piece. So like I said, like a sweater or a tunic or your dress or a pantsuit, something like that. I don't know how much I would go after something like just a simple button-down shirt, something like a suit, something again career wear. I would absolutely jump on that if I could. So yeah, Calvin Klein, and I do find it quite often, but that's just something that I'm going to be sort of keeping on my radar when the cost is low enough and going ahead and grabbing. I've had great luck this year selling it quickly. Okay, and number 10, the last one that I'm going to be sharing with you today, the brands that I'm going to be really searching for in 2019 is Flax. So I have mentioned this quite a few times on haul videos and sales videos. It's not something that I find often. When I do find it, I tend to come across like a little hoard of it. I guess when people get into it, they go for it, I'm not sure. But it's very like Lagan look, kind of boho-ish. It's often completely, it's almost 100% linen. Sometimes it's cotton, it just depends. They're very like, flowy. They're very flowy, like they don't tend to be form-fitting, tends to be like a lot of oversized buttons, but they go so quickly for me. I don't know what it is, like almost every single piece I picked it up with flaws and stains and all kinds of stuff, and it has still sold. Now if I have a piece like a pair of pants or a top, I've often found them as sets, and I've always separated them and sold them because I found I made a lot more money doing it that way. But I would tend to get around $35, I would say, for each piece. And I usually find it just kind of tucked away in rummage sales and things like that with people overlooking it. So Flax is definitely a brand that I would recommend keeping your eyes peeled for. Okay, and as promised, I'm going to give you a couple of like bonus items or whatever that I'm going to be looking for. So number 1 of that is vintage Christmas sweaters. If you've seen my Christmas video, Christmas sweater, ugly Christmas sweater video. Oh Lord, I've taken way too much time off for Christmas. If you have seen my recent Christmas sweater sales video, I will link that down below as well, just in case you haven't. You would know that I enjoy picking them up all year long, so that when September, October, November hits, I can list them all, and I have done really well at the beginning of December, just having a huge influx of sales to do with ugly Christmas sweaters. I pick them up like the modern versions if they're cheap enough, and I absolutely pick up the vintage ones. I don't tend to pick up the ones that are like handmade with bits stuck on them, because they just don't, as far as I can tell, just don't do that well. But if they are vintage and super cute, very like 90s, retro, all that kind of stuff, I will absolutely scoop them up. And I usually find them for $1 or less at rummage sales or yard sales or estate sales even. So vintage Christmas sweaters I will definitely be picking up. I will also be picking up vintage collegiate wear, which is something I've done for years as well. So I live in a university town, so I find absolutely loads of this, and come September it flies off the shelf for me. I usually sell each sweatshirt for about $35, despite light marks and flaws, because it being a vintage item and whatnot. So I pick up the sweatshirts, the knit sweaters, and occasionally t-shirts that don't do so well for me, I have to say, and then jackets as well is what I will be picking up. And again, I find plenty of them at rummage sales, estate sales, and yard sales. You just got to keep your eyes peeled for those awesome vintage graphics. They definitely jump out at you. I will also be looking for vintage windbreakers. This is something that has sold really well for me for the last few years on all 3 platforms, Etsy, eBay, and Poshmark as well. Usually between the $30 to $50 range. I started out just picking up things like vintage Nike or Reebok, you know, like color block windbreakers, which are kind of a no-brainer. But then I just moved on to picking up any vintage windbreakers, as long as they were like a nice style, nice color, all that kind of stuff, and I've had no trouble at all selling them for around the $50 mark, and pretty darn quickly. So I will be keeping my eyes peeled for those as well, especially at rummage sales. And the last thing that I will be keeping my eyes peeled for style-wise is fisherman sweaters. So for whatever reason this year I have found plenty of them and I have sold them super quickly. When I say fisherman sweater, I mean a very chunky cable knit, usually has like a high neck or some kind of turtleneck going on, like very kind of thick cable to it. They're usually in like a oatmeal kind of color or like a cream color, and very much designed to keep you warm and against the elements and whatnot. And the vintage ones is what I always pick up, although I have picked up that style in like Antail Loft and whatever, and honestly everything has sold for me, so probably that is something that is just desired, at least at this point. But they did so well for me that I'm willing to take a chance on them still being popular in like fall winter 2019 when their time really rolls around. And I mean, I think no matter what, I'm going to be able to sell those things. Fingers crossed. And that is everything. Obviously, I'm going to be looking for way more than that. And obviously, I will be pretty much buying anything that I can turn for a profit, because that is what I do. That is pretty much my business model at this point, with my cost of goods being so low. But those are just 10 brands that are absolutely on my radar going into 2019, and I wanted to share them with you today. If you want to share with me what is on your radar, or just like down in the comments with each other, that would be kind of awesome. It's always fun to see what everybody else is hoping they find, what's on their bucket list, what has been doing well for them this last year that they're going to be looking out for again. And please do just drop down and say hi. I would love to say hi back as well. It is so nice to have you here, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a very happy new year.